Hello and good evening. This is Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. Boy, what a beautiful day it was here after all the wind and rain and storms from Hurricane Lee in the Northeast. It's so beautiful today, just warm and sunshiny, just the kind of fall days that I love to have. So, this month we are using the Autumn Leaves stamp set, and I just love anything fall. I love the colors of fall. I love the leaves. I'm kind of a sucker for a good leaf stamp set, and this is the one that's in our current mini catalog. And if you have not seen the mini catalog, this is what it looks like. It's the cover, and the Autumn Leaves suite is dead center in the catalog. It has beautiful designer series paper, beautiful oxidized copper paper. It just has everything you can possibly think of for fall. So let's review what we did last week. So this was the card that I made last week, and we used a little bit of that copper designer series paper. We, on the inside, had a greeting and some more stamps, and on the outside just had with a grateful heart. But we did use one thing that wasn't part of the stamp set, and that was the splatter dots from the Layering Leaves stamp set. So tonight, this is the card that we are going to make. We're going to let the designer series paper be the star of the show tonight, and this is just gorgeous paper. And then we will do a little stamping on the inside of the card. So this is a pretty quick and easy card to make. So let me just set that aside and set the stamp set aside, and we'll get started. So what you need for materials for tonight, and remember, I'll put this right in the chat, so you don't need to worry about it. Well, in the comments, I meant to say. Sorry about that. So I have here a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock that I'm just going to use my bone folder to score that. I have 2 pieces of very vanilla cardstock that measure 4 by 5.25. We're going to put one of these right on the front of this card. So I'm just using my Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to center this right on the front of the card. I love it when we can use the designer series paper to just really elevate the card to a different level. So that's, so nice. I'm going to set this one aside because we are going to be doing some stamping on it. You're also going to need a smaller piece of the Very Vanilla that measures 3.25 inch, 3/4 of an inch by 3.25 inch, and then the Cajun Craze that matches it is 1 by 3.25 inches. You're also going to need a piece of Cajun Craze. I'm sorry about that. We've had a lot of noise outside of our house. This one measures 4.5 by 3.25. You can tell that this is a live. I can't control any of that. And 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. And then our piece of designer series paper. The back has the mossy meadow with the the copper accents, and this measures 3 by 4.25. So we're just going to be doing some layering with these items. So let's start with that, and then we'll save the stamping for last. So this is going to be a really fast card, and if we have time, then I'll show you a second card. Using kind of a design, or you could say a sketch that I've used before. Okay, there we go. I just put the designer series paper on a little bit of vanilla paper and just had that, just 1/8 of an inch around. And now I'm going to put it on the Copper Craze. The Copper Craze is such a wonderful, wonderful fall color. All right. And this time I could center it, but I decided to do just something a little different, and I'm bringing it down to the right corner of the card, and that gives it a nice border around it. So for this part, I am going to take the stamp with a grateful heart, and I'm going to use my Copper Craze ink, and I'm just going to stamp that on this piece of cardstock. And I'm going to be cutting this down, so I think I'll just go over to one side. I always cut it a little bigger to give me options. So this time it is going to be cut so that it is going to be the same size. It's going to meet the card base at the same point. Okay, so let's just put this right up against the edge. And then I can take my scissors and just cut this right where I want it, or I could use my paper trimmer as well. But there we go. And that gives me the perfect size that I want. And so I'm going to bring this right to the edge of the card of that very vanilla. All right, so I don't want to cover all the leaves, but I'm going to have to cover some. So there's the front of the card, super easy. Now let's just give the inside a little bit. We don't want to leave our insides blank. So there we go. And I'm just going to stamp this maple leaf right in the corner. There we go. Close up my ink pad. Make sure it's dry. And then we're going to pop this right into the inside of the card. And there we go. That's our card for tonight. Simple, easy, fast, quick. This is actually the same piece of designer series paper. The leaves just are different based on the position where they are on the card. So we have a little bit of time, so I think I'm going to share that second card with you. So all I have to do is clean my stamp, because I'm going to be using, I'm just going to grab a piece of paper towel, because my cleaning pads are way on the other side of the room. So I'm going to need the Layering Leaves stamp set. So I've got that. I'm going to spray a little cleaning spray on my paper towel so I can just clean this one stamp, because we're going to use this again, and I don't want to have all that copper on it. Just want to make sure we get all of that off. There we go. Okay. And I might as well clean this one off while we're at it. All right, those are clean. Okay, so here's what we're going to need for this card. We're going to need an 8.5 by 11, excuse me, not 8.5, an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. That's going to be our base. We are going to need, again, 2 pieces of very vanilla cardstock that are measuring 4 by 5 1/4. We have a 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 piece of very vanilla, and then a 3 3 3/8 by 4 5/8 piece of cherry cardstock, cherry cobbler. All right, so let's get started. I did this technique with you last month or the month before. I can't remember with which stamp set I did it with. So what I'm going to do is just put a very little piece of adhesive on the smaller piece of Very Vanilla, and I'm just going to put that right in the center of my card, and I'm going to do my stamping this way. So I'm going to start with my cherry cobbler ink pad, and I'll show you the card that we're going to be doing. This is the card that I'm going to be making. Another great fall card, and the inside is stamped as well. So to do this technique, you need to tape that card down because I want to stamp off of this image. So I'm stamping up my leaf with the cherry cobbler ink, and I'm going to just press that down. So it's going to get, there's going to be some on the outside. Now this stamp, because it's so detailed, we're going to have, it's not going to be as close to that as we might want, but it's okay. And then I'm going to put another cherry cobbler down. Some of the paper is going to cover that up. I'm just going to set that aside because we're going to use it again, and I'm going to get my crushed curry. And now I'm going to be taking this and doing the same thing, stamping it on and off. There we go. And then we're done with the crushed curry. We're going to take the stem of this leaf, and I'm going to not ink up the bottom part of the stem, but I am going to ink up the part that will go right into the stamped image. So these two I don't have to worry too much because it goes off the card. So if it's stamped up the whole way, that doesn't matter. It's okay. Okay, so we're done with that. Now we're going to take, let's see, I think we can fit that right in the middle. That's where I want it. Using the cherry cobbler again, I'm going to stamp the greeting right here between those leaves, and it says, "Autumn teaches us that change can be beautiful." And then out of my layering leaf stamp set, which we used last month, I am going to grab the splatter and a block. There we go. And this time with the splatter, I'm not going to put it all over the card. I am just going to go from the left to the right, and just kind of go all the way down, just in a diagonal, the middle of the card. And that looks great. That's all I want to do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take this piece carefully off, and I'm going to mount this on the front of the card. There we go. Looks like kind of a mess right now, but it won't in just a minute. And we're going to add this to the piece of cherry cobbler. And I just have a very small border around the cherry cobbler and the very vanilla. And then I'm going to match this up with my stamped images. There we go. Look at that. Doesn't that look fabulous? I love this technique. Okay, for the inside, I am going to take, so you can see the sample. On the inside, I just put in 2 of the yellow leaves. So let's get the crushed curry out again. And I'm just going to stamp 2 of these on the inside. There we go. Let's put the crushed curry away. Take the cherry cobbler out again and the vein part of the plant. And we're just going to stamp that on our leaves. And look at this, just over 15 minutes. We've made 2 cards tonight. So I've shown you this technique before. I think it was our first month with the ink and tiled set. I showed you this technique of where you can have the pattern repeating underneath the mat, and it's just such a cool look to the card. So these are the cards that we made tonight. So we have our bonus card and our regular card. Now for next week, we are going to do a fun fold, because I just love fun folds. We're going to be using the gorgeous Designer Series paper. We're going to be cutting a little bit, so we'll need scissors. And we're going to be using a sponge dauber to do a technique with the ink that I think you'll enjoy. It makes the leaves look pretty spectacular and very fall-like. So be looking forward to next Sunday night when I show you that technique. I think you're really going to like it. And don't forget, Fun Fold Friday, we are making a really fun fold that, again, I'm going to be using the Autumn Leaf set. I just love this set. And I'm going to try to use it as much as I can during September. And then Sunday night, I'll be back for Simply Sunday, Stamping Sunday. So I will see you Friday night at 6, Sunday night at 7, and I hope you have a most fantastic week. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.